Well, welcome back. What I'm working on today on my building is I'm putting up the wraps for the metal. So the metal attached to these 2x6s going around. You could use 2x4s on this, but I prefer 2x6s. Makes it a little bit stronger. And so I've already wrapped the bottom 3. These I have to, the top one I have, or the top next to the top one I have to do by a ladder. So I'm doing that right now. And to show you how to wrap those, basically what we're doing is spacing them somewhat evenly, about 3 feet apart. You want them 3 feet or less typically, and so we're putting those. I'm putting them 3 foot on centers. Top one's a little bit less than that, and then we're going to finish up this wrap. And I'm tying them together really good with long screws and some metal to hopefully hold things together. So we'll show you how we do that. My first task at hand is to cut my boards. They come from the lumberyard 12 foot and about an inch. And I want to cut them 12 foot because my posts are on 12 foot centers. So I'm going to cut these real quick, just measure them and cut them and square them off, and get started with a couple of those. One tool I really like to use is the Swanson speed square. This thing is really handy for just a lot of different things. And there's a lot of videos to show you how to use it. It's just they're small, real durable. I get the actual Swanson, which was metal, and a lot of things you can do with it. I use them mostly for square, but for other purposes. But we'll just use that. You can mark it real quick. A lot of other squares you can use. I like these. You can also lay it here, use as a saw guide if you want to. Really pretty nice little piece of equipment. I'm using a generator, a Honda generator, to run my saws. It's a 2,000 watt generator. So I have to, it doesn't really spin this up, I have to kick it up and let it run. And you'll hear that as it starts. And then, because I just don't have electricity out here yet. Comes in pretty handy though. So I've cut those off at 12 foot lengths. We're going to hang them up on the rafters. I'm on the side of the building right now. Okay, what I've done now is made this little jig to help hold the lumber since I'm working by myself. If you have 2 people, it's real easy. One person on one ladder, one on the other. Just bring them up there, bam, bam, nail them up, and you're done. Or we're going to put some screws in them. But since I'm working by myself, I made this little jig to hold one end. So I just take this and put it up there. I'll hold it a little bit lower than where it's supposed to go. Then I'll move it up when I get ready to nail it in. And I just screw this in place, and it'll hold my lumber this end while I nail the other end, and I'll come back in and nail this end in a minute. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I know the distance up there where I measured earlier. I'm going to measure it up here. I'm doing 3 feet up. Put me a mark square so I can know where to put my lumber at. Again, I use my Swanson speed square to square it up where I'll put my board at. The next step now, I'm going to put my 2x12, my 2x6 up there on a bracket I made to hold that in. And I can go up here with my nail gun and nail this in. So for right now, I'm going to put this up here. Here's my little man-made bracket. Put that there. A lot of things you do when you're working by yourself, you have to do a few compromises. Be a little resourceful. I'm going to just get one nail this end, then I'll nail that other end. I can nail that in if I want to, but since I'm using screws, I'm just going to go ahead and screw it in. Screws hold a lot stronger than nails do. I like to, they're less likely to pull out the wind. Take my bracket off. I'm putting on these metal wraps around the corners, and I'm tying the edges together so they won't pull apart in the high winds. We had tornado damage here a few years ago, and I like to really tie this stuff together. I've covered stories on tornadoes, and a lot of times if you can, excuse me, a lot of times if you can keep the corners, keep the roof on, keep it all tied together, you may not be able to withstand a direct hit from a tornado, but you can withstand some really strong winds near a tornado and minimize the damage. So while what I'm doing won't protect it completely from a tornado, especially something like an F5, it'll protect it from some near winds, high winds, and some maybe low wind tornadoes. The cost is not all that much. There's like $1 a piece, and you need one around each corner. Then I'll tie the top, keep the roof on. Is the most important piece is try to tie the roof to the poles. I'm using long screws to go into the wood, and I'm using shorter screws for out here into the wood. So this just helps tie all this together with a longer screw. So I'll just pull this around here nice and tight and tie it in this side, and hopefully I'll put these long screws into this 4x4. Hopefully it'll help hold everything together. A lot of times if you're hiring people to build a building for you, they often won't use screws. They'll just use nails, because nail guns are so much faster and quicker, but they don't hold nearly as strong as screws. So I prefer, since I'm doing it myself, I have the time, and I prefer to put these long wood screws that sink into them and really tie things together. I put in these straps, which I think a lot of contractors don't, I don't know, but I haven't seen them very many. But just a few things, a little extra touch when you're doing it yourself, and try to make it just a little bit better if you want to.